The sound of Queen Kythara's roar shook the walls of the command bridge. Every officer on the ship felt the floor vibrate under their feet. Her voice was full of pain and rage. It was the kind of sound that made even the bravest soldiers take a step back. "Who fixed my armor?" she roared again. The tall alien queen stood in the center of the bridge. Her blue skin glowed bright under the ship's white lights. Her silver eyes burned with anger. She was over 8 feet tall, and her body was covered with battle scars. Each scar told a story of a fight she had won. Queen Kythara was the strongest warrior in the Zephyrian Empire. Everyone feared her. Everyone respected her. But today, she looked broken. On the metal table in front of her lay pieces of armor. The armor was beautiful, even in its destroyed state. The metal was dark silver and covered with ancient symbols. The symbols seemed to move and dance in the light. Some pieces were bent, some were cracked, some were completely shattered. This was not just any armor. This was the armor of the Eternal Queens. It was 3,000 years old. Every queen in Kythara's family had worn it. Her mother wore it. Her grandmother wore it. Every queen for 150 generations wore it into battle. The armor was not just metal and cloth. It was alive with ancient power. When a queen wore it, she could connect with the spirits of all the queens who came before her. She could feel their strength flow into her body. She could hear their wisdom in her mind. With the armor, one queen could fight like 10 warriors. Without it, she was just flesh and bone. Commander Rickhall stepped forward carefully. He was the second in command on the ship. His green skin looked pale with fear. His 4 arms were held close to his body in a sign of respect. "My queen," he said softly, "the armor was damaged in the last battle against the Hegemony fleet. Their new weapons were stronger than we expected." Kythara picked up one of the broken pieces. Her hand shook as she held it. The metal felt cold and dead. There was no power in it anymore, no warmth, no life. "I know it was damaged," she said. Her voice was quieter now, but still dangerous. "What I want to know is who can fix it." She looked around the bridge at her officers. They all looked down at the floor. No one wanted to meet her eyes. The war against the Hegemony had been going on for 2 years. The Hegemony wanted to control every star system in this part of the galaxy. They had powerful ships and cruel leaders. The Zephyrians were the only ones strong enough to stand against them. But the next big battle was coming in only 5 days. Without the armor, Queen Kythara knew they might lose. If they lost, billions of people would die. Entire planets would fall under Hegemony control. Vexel, the chief engineer, walked onto the bridge. He had 6 arms, and his body looked like a giant insect. His skin was gray and rough like stone. When he spoke, his voice made a clicking sound. "My queen," Vexel said. He kept his head low. "I have studied the armor for 3 days. I have used every tool we have. I have read every old book in our library." "Can you fix it?" the queen asked. Vexel's head dropped lower. "I am sorry, my queen. I cannot. This armor was made by the predecessors. They lived thousands of years before any of us were born. Their technology is too advanced. It is like magic to us. We do not understand how it works." The queen's fist hit the metal table with a loud bang. The sound made everyone jump. Some officers took a step back. "There must be someone," she shouted. "Someone in this galaxy must be able to fix ancient technology." Dr. Neltar, the science officer, stepped forward. She had purple skin and large golden eyes. She was the smartest person on the ship.
"My queen," she said carefully, "we have tried to understand predecessor technology for hundreds of years. Every race in the galaxy has tried. No one has ever succeeded. The predecessors were too advanced. When they disappeared, their secrets died with them." Queen Kythara felt something cold settle in her chest. It was fear. She had not felt real fear in many years. She looked at the broken armor again. In 5 days, she would have to face the entire hegemony fleet. Without the armor, she would be just one warrior against thousands. They would lose. Her people would die. Everything she fought for would be destroyed. The bridge was silent. No one knew what to say. The queen stood there, staring at the broken pieces of her family's legacy. Then a small voice spoke from the back of the bridge. "My queen, there is one more option." Everyone turned to look. It was Lieutenant Zorax, a young officer who worked in ship operations. His hands were shaking. He nervously swallowed hard. "Speak," the queen commanded. Zorax took a deep breath. "There is someone on this ship who might be able to help, but, Puff, you will not like it, my queen." "Who?" Queen Kythara's eyes narrowed. Zorax took a deep breath. "A human." The entire bridge erupted in noise. Officers shouted in disbelief. Some laughed. Dr. Neltar shook her head. Commander Rickhal's face showed disgust. "A human!" Vexel clicked loudly. "Humans are the weakest race in the galaxy. They have barely left their own star system. They know nothing of advanced technology." But Queen Kythara did not laugh. She did not shout. She stared at Lieutenant Zorax with burning eyes. "Explain."
The word human hung in the air like poison. Commander Rickhal's face twisted with anger. "Have you lost your mind, Lieutenant? A human cannot fix what our greatest engineers cannot." Dr. Neltar crossed her arms. "Humans are barely more advanced than cave dwellers. They still use chemical rockets. They still die from simple diseases. They are children playing with fire." Vexel clicked his mandibles in what sounded like laughter. "I have seen human technology, my queen. It is pathetic. Their ships are held together with metal bolts and hope. They cannot even create artificial gravity properly." But Queen Kythara raised one hand. The bridge fell silent immediately. "Lieutenant Zorax," she said coldly, "why is there a human on my warship?" Zorax straightened his back. He knew his career might end with his next words. "My queen, 3 months ago we rescued a damaged human transport ship near the Meridian sector. It was caught in a gravitational storm. 37 humans were aboard. We saved them all." "And you kept one?" the queen asked. "Not exactly, my queen." Zorax pulled up a holographic display. An image appeared in the air. It showed a human male. He looked young, maybe 30 Earth years. He had dark hair and tired eyes. His skin was brown and covered with strange markings that humans called tattoos. He wore simple gray coveralls. "This is James Chen. He was not a passenger on that transport. He was working in their engine room when we found them." "An engineer?" Vexel clicked with disgust. "Human engineers are worse than their scientists." "Perhaps," Zorax continued, "but something strange happened after we brought them aboard. We were going to drop all the humans at the next Federation station, but then something happened to our waste recycling system. It completely stopped working. Our own engineers worked on it for 2 days. Nothing helped. The ship started to smell terrible." Several officers nodded. They remembered that awful week. Then this human, James Chen, asked if he could look at it. Our engineers laughed at him, but we were desperate. We let him try. Zorax paused. He fixed it in 47 minutes. The bridge went quiet. After that, strange things kept breaking. Our food synthesizer stopped working. James fixed it. Our backup power grid had a fault no one could find. James found it in 1 hour. Our navigation computer had a glitch that made us drift off course. James corrected it. Commander Rickall shook his head. Coincidence, luck, nothing more. Maybe, Zorak said, but there is something else, something I saw with my own eyes. He looked directly at the Queen. 2 weeks ago, I found James in Storage Bay 7. He was staring at a piece of predecessor equipment we had found on a dead planet. It was broken, like everything from the predecessors. But James was touching it, studying it. When I asked him what he was doing, he said something very strange. What did he say? Queen Cathara leaned forward. He said, "This is not alien technology. This is home." The silence on the bridge was complete. Even the ship's hum seemed to disappear. Dr. Neltar laughed nervously. That is ridiculous. Humans have no connection to the predecessors. The predecessors disappeared 50,000 years ago. Humans barely discovered fire 50,000 years ago. I know it sounds crazy, Zorak said, but I have watched this human for 3 months. He does not act like other humans. He does not fear us. He does not ask to go home. He works in the lower decks, fixing things, studying our technology. It's like he's searching for something. Queen Cathara stood perfectly still. Her mind was racing. The predecessors were a mystery that haunted every species in the galaxy. They built incredible things, cities that floated in the air, ships that could cross the galaxy in days, weapons that could destroy stars. And then, one day, they vanished. Every last one of them. Gone. No one knew where they went. No one knew why they left. They left behind only ruins and broken technology that no one could understand or repair. Could a human, the weakest and youngest race in the galaxy, somehow know their secrets? It was impossible. But the Queen was desperate. "Bring him to me," she commanded. "My Queen!" Commander Rickall stepped forward. "You cannot be serious. This is our most sacred artifact. To let a human touch it is an insult to 150 generations of queens." Cathara turned to face her commander. Her eyes glowed with red fire. "I am running out of time, Rickall. In 5 days, the hegemony will come with 300 warships. Without my armor, we will lose. Our people will be enslaved. Our children will be killed. Our planets will burn." She moved closer to him. "So yes, I am serious. If a human can save my people, I will let him try. If he fails, I will kill him myself. But I will try everything before I give up." Rickall bowed his head. "Yes, my Queen." Zorak spoke into his communication device. "Security Team 9, bring the human from lower engineering deck to the command bridge, immediately." While they waited, Queen Cathara stared at the broken armor. She touched one piece gently. The metal was still cold, still dead. "Mother," she thought, "grandmother, all the queens who came before me, if you can hear me, guide me now. Show me the way." 10 minutes later, the bridge doors opened. 4 security guards walked in. Between them was a human. James Chen looked small compared to the guards. He was only about 6 feet tall. The Zephyrians around him were all over 7 feet. He looked thin and weak. His coveralls were dirty with grease and oil. His hair was messy. He had dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. But his eyes were sharp and focused. He looked around the bridge with curiosity, not fear. He studied the technology, the displays, the controls. It was like he was reading a book that fascinated him. When his eyes found Queen Cathara, he stopped walking. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he looked down at the broken armor on the table. Something changed in his face. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened slightly. He took a step forward, but the guards grabbed his arms and held him back. "You will not move without permission, human," a guard growled. James didn't seem to hear him. He was staring at the armor like it was the only thing in the universe. "Do you know what this is, human?" Queen Cathara asked. James Chen slowly raised his eyes to meet hers. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but clear. "Yes." "Can you fix it?" James tilted his head. He studied the broken pieces more carefully. His eyes moved over every crack, every bent piece of metal, every shattered component. The entire bridge watched him in silence. After a full minute, James Chen spoke again. "I've seen this before." Dr. Neltar laughed. "Impossible! This armor is unique. It is one of a kind. There is nothing like it in the entire—" "I've seen this before," James repeated, cutting her off. His voice was stronger now. He looked at the Queen again. "Not this specific armor, but this design, this technology, this energy signature." He paused. His next words came out like a confession. "I've seen it in my dreams since I was a child." The entire bridge erupted in chaos. Officers shouted. Some demanded the human be thrown off the ship immediately. Others called him insane. Commander Rickall looked at the Queen with pleading eyes, begging her to end this madness. But the Queen did not move. She stared at James Chen. She studied his face, his eyes, the way he looked at the armor. She had spent her whole life reading people, knowing when they lied, knowing when they told the truth. This human was not lying. "Guards," she said quietly, "release him." "My Queen!" Rickall shouted. "I said release him." The guards let go of James' arms. He immediately walked forward to the table. He moved slowly, like he was in a trance. When he reached the armor, he gently picked up one of the broken pieces. The moment his hand touched the metal, something happened. The piece began to glow. Just a faint light, barely visible, but everyone on the bridge saw it. James Chen looked up at Queen Caithara. His eyes were filled with tears. "I can fix this, but when I do, everything you think you know about humans, about the predecessors, about the universe—" He paused. He took a shaky breath. "Everything is about to change."
The glow from the armor piece faded slowly, like a dying star. But everyone on the bridge had seen it. There was no denying what just happened. The ancient armor, dead for days, had responded to a human's touch. Dr. Neltar's hands were shaking as she pulled up her scanning device. "Impossible," she whispered, staring at the readings. "The energy signature, it just spiked by 340%. That should not be possible." Vexel's 6 arms moved frantically over his own scanner. "The metal's molecular structure is changing. It is repairing itself at a microscopic level." Queen Caithara's heart pounded in her chest. She watched as James Chen held the broken piece of armor. His eyes were closed now. Tears ran down his face. His lips moved like he was speaking to someone, but no sound came out. "Human," the Queen said firmly, "explain yourself, now." James opened his eyes. He looked at her with a sadness so deep it made the Queen take a step back. "My name is James Chen," he said quietly. "I am 32 years old. I was born on Earth, in a city called San Francisco. I am a mechanical engineer. That is what my documents say. That is what I believed my whole life." He placed the armor piece back on the table carefully, like it was a sacred object. "But I have always known I was different," James continued. His voice grew stronger. "When I was 5 years old, I drew pictures of machines that did not exist. My parents thought I was creative. When I was 10, I fixed my school's entire computer network in one afternoon. The teachers called me gifted. When I was 15, I built a generator in my garage that was 400% more efficient than anything on Earth. Scientists called me a genius." He looked around the bridge at all the alien faces staring at him. "But I was not a genius. I was remembering." "Remembering what?" Queen Caithara demanded. James turned back to the armor. He ran his hand over the ancient symbols. "When I was 7 years old, I started having dreams, every single night. Dreams of cities floating in the clouds, ships that moved faster than light, weapons that could reshape planets, and symbols, thousands of symbols that I did not understand." He pointed to the markings on the armor. These symbols, I drew them in notebooks my whole childhood. My parents threw the notebooks away. They said I was obsessed, but I could not stop. The dreams would not stop. Commander Rickle crossed his arms. So you are saying you dreamed about predecessor technology. That proves nothing. Many species have studied the predecessors. You probably saw images in human databases. No, James said firmly. He looked at Rickle with eyes that burned with intensity. I never studied the predecessors. Humans barely know they existed. Most humans think they're a myth, but I knew. I have always known. He touched his chest. I feel them here, in my blood, in my bones, like a song I have heard before, but cannot remember the words. Dr. Neltar stepped closer. Her scientific mind was fighting against what she was seeing. Even if your dreams are real, even if you have some unexplained knowledge, it still does not explain why the armor responded to you. That armor is DNA locked. It only responds to the royal bloodline of Queen Kythara's family. It should be impossible for you to activate it. James looked at Dr. Neltar. Then he said something that made the entire bridge freeze. Unless the predecessors were human. The silence that followed was absolute. No one breathed, no one moved. Vexel was the first to speak. His voice came out as a horrified clicking sound. That is blasphemy. The predecessors were gods. They were ancient beyond measure. We are children, James said softly. Yes, humans are the youngest race in the galaxy. We have only been in space for 200 years. We are weak. We die easily. Our technology is primitive compared to yours. He picked up another piece of the armor. It began to glow immediately. But what if that is because we forgot? What if humans are not a new species? What if we are an old species that lost everything? Queen Kythara felt the floor shift beneath her feet. Her mind raced through everything she knew about galactic history. The predecessors disappeared 50,000 years ago. Human recorded history only went back 10,000 years. Before that, humans were primitive, living in caves, hunting animals, no technology, no civilization. Or so everyone believed. You are saying humans are the descendants of the predecessors? The Queen asked slowly. I am saying it is possible, James replied. Think about it. The predecessors vanished 50,000 years ago. No one knows where they went. No bodies were ever found. No graves. No death records. They just disappeared. He held up the glowing armor piece. What if they did not leave? What if something happened that made them forget who they were? A war? A plague? A disaster so terrible that it wiped out their entire civilization and their memories? Dr. Neltar shook her head violently. No, this is insane. We have studied predecessor ruins for centuries. There is no evidence of humans anywhere. Because you were not looking for humans. You were looking for advanced beings, gods. But what if the predecessors looked like us? What if their DNA is human DNA? He paused. What if humans scattered across the galaxy, lost and broken, and eventually one group ended up on a planet called Earth? What if we spent 50,000 years rebuilding from nothing, with only fragments of our old knowledge buried deep in our genetic memory? Commander Rickle slammed his fist on a console. This is ridiculous. If humans were predecessors, why can't all humans do what you do? Why are you special? James's face darkened. I do not know. Maybe the memories are stronger in some of us. Maybe it's random. Maybe... He stopped and looked at his hands. Maybe I am just unlucky enough to remember what everyone else forgot. Queen Kythara walked slowly towards James. She stood directly in front of him. She was almost 3 feet taller, but James did not back away. He met her eyes without fear. If what you say is true, the Queen said quietly, then you are claiming that humans once ruled the galaxy, that you built wonders beyond imagination, that you were gods among the stars. No, James said firmly, not gods, just people.
People who learned, people who built, people who made mistakes. He looked at the broken armor. People who lost everything. The Queen studied his face for a long moment. Then she made her decision. Can you fix my armor or not? James took a deep breath. Yes, but I need 3 things. First, I need complete access to the armor and all its components. Second, I need 3 days of uninterrupted work. And third, he hesitated. What is the third thing? The Queen demanded. I need you to trust me, James said, because when I fix this armor, it will not be the same as before. The predecessors designed it to evolve, to grow stronger with each generation, but it has been dormant for 3,000 years. When I wake it up fully, he paused, and his voice dropped to a whisper. When I wake it up, you will have access to power that has not been seen in this galaxy for 50,000 years, power that could save your people or destroy everything. Queen Kythara did not hesitate. Do it. My queen, Rickle shouted. You cannot... I said, do it! The Queen roared. Her voice echoed through the bridge. Commander Rickle, clear Workshop Bay 3. Give this human everything he needs. Food, water, tools, whatever he asks for. No one disturbs him, no one questions him, and if anyone tries to stop him, her eyes glowed red. They answer to Ni. Rickle bowed his head in defeat. Yes, my queen. James carefully gathered all the pieces of armor. As his hands touched each piece, they began to glow with that soft, ancient light. The officers watched in awe and fear. As James was being escorted off the bridge, Queen Kythana called out to him, James Chen. He turned back to look at her. If you are lying to me, the Queen said quietly, if this is some trick, I will kill you slowly. Do you understand? James smiled sadly. I understand, my queen, but I am not lying, Queen Kythara, and soon you will see the truth. He looked around at all the alien faces staring at him. Humanity did not climb up from nothing. We fell from everything. And maybe it's time we remembered who we used to be. Then he was gone. The bridge doors closed behind him. Dr. Neltar walked up to the Queen. My queen, what if he is dangerous? What if he uses the armor for himself? Queen Kythara stared at the closed doors. Then we will deal with it. But Dr. Neltar, did you see his eyes? Yes, my queen. Those were not the eyes of a liar or a thief. Those were the eyes of a man carrying a terrible burden, a burden 50,000 years old. She turned to her science officer. Monitor him constantly. Record.
Queen Kythara stood outside Workshop Bay 3. Her heart hammered in her chest like a war drum. Through the thick metal doors, she could feel it. A pulse, a rhythm, like the heartbeat of something ancient and alive. Commander Rickhall stood beside her. His face was pale green with worry. My queen, the energy readings are off every scale we have. Whatever is inside that room, it is beyond anything we have ever measured. Is the human still alive? The Queen asked. Dr. Neltar checked her medical scanner. Yes, barely. His heart rate is dangerously low. His body temperature has dropped. He is in some kind of shock. We should get him to medical immediately. After I see the armor, the Queen said. She placed her hand on the door control. Everyone stay here. I go in alone. My queen, that is not safe, Rickhall protested. Kythara turned to face him. Her eyes glowed with determination. If this armor kills me, then it was never meant to be mine. If it accepts me, then we have a chance to win this war. She opened the door. Either way, I face it alone. That is the way of the queens. The door slid open with a hiss. The light that poured out was blinding. It was not the normal white light of the ship. This was something else. Blue and gold and silver all mixed together. It moved like liquid, like fire, like starlight itself. Queen Kythara stepped inside. The door closed behind her. The workshop was completely transformed. The walls were glowing with symbols, the same symbols from the armor. They moved and shifted like living things. The air itself felt different, thicker,
charged with power that made her skin tingle. In the center of the room, on a raised platform, stood the armor. The queen's breath caught in her throat. It was magnificent, beautiful beyond words. The metal had changed from dark silver to something that looked like liquid starlight. Blues and golds flowed across the surface. The ancient symbols covered every inch, pulsing with light in patterns that looked like breathing. The armor did not just reflect light, it created light. It was alive with energy that had not existed in the galaxy for 50,000 years. But it was the presence that truly stunned her. The armor had a presence, like a person standing in the room, like it was watching her, waiting for her. James Chen lay on the floor near the platform. His body was curled up like a child. His clothes were soaked with sweat and blood. His hands were covered with burns and cuts. But he was breathing, barely. The queen walked to him slowly. She knelt down and touched his shoulder. "Human, James, wake up." James's eyes opened. They were bloodshot and exhausted. But when he saw the queen, he smiled weakly. "You came." "I came," she confirmed. "Is it ready?" James tried to sit up, but his body would not cooperate. The queen helped him lean against the wall. He looked up at the armor with an expression that mixed pride and fear. "It is more than ready," he whispered. "It is perfect." But Queen Caithara, his hand grabbed her arm with surprising strength. "You need to understand what I did. I did not just fix your family's armor. I unlocked it." "What do you mean?" James coughed. Blood appeared on his lips. "Your ancestors wore this armor for 3,000 years, but they only used 10% of its power, maybe less. The predecessors built this armor to evolve, to grow, to learn from each user and become stronger, but it needed the right person to wake it up fully." He looked at her with desperate eyes. "I woke it up, my queen. I gave it back everything it lost, everything the predecessors intended it to be." The queen felt a chill run down her spine. "How much power are we talking about?" James said, "Enough to fight 1,000 warriors alone, enough to destroy ships with your bare hands, enough to move faster than eyes can follow, enough to—" He paused, and his voice dropped to a terrified whisper. "Enough to make you something more than Saphirian, something more than mortal." Queen Caithara stood up slowly. She walked toward the armor. Each step felt heavy. The closer she got, the more she felt it, a pull, like gravity, like the armor was calling to her, singing to her in a language she did not know, but somehow understood. "James," she said without turning around, "what will happen when I put this on?" "I do not know," he admitted. "The armor will connect to your mind, your body, your DNA. It will read everything about you in seconds, your memories, your fears, your strength, your weakness. And then," he struggled to breathe, "then it will decide if you are worthy, and if I am not worthy, then it will reject you, and the feedback could destroy your mind." The queen reached the platform. She stood before the armor. Up close, it was even more incredible. She could see layers within layers, technology so advanced it looked like magic. The symbols moved faster when she got near, like they were excited. She reached out and touched the chest piece. The moment her fingers made contact, everything changed. The armor exploded with light, brilliant, blinding. The queen felt energy surge up her arm like lightning. It did not hurt. It felt right, like coming home after a long journey. The armor pieces began to move on their own. They floated up from the platform. They circled around the queen like birds, like they were studying her, deciding. The queen did not move. She stood perfectly still and let the armor examine her. She felt its presence in her mind, not invading, not forcing, just looking, asking permission. She gave it. The armor moved faster. Piece by piece, it attached itself to her body. The leg plates first, then the arm guards, the chest piece, the gauntlets. Each piece sealed with a sound like singing, like the universe itself was humming in approval. When the final piece, the helmet, lowered onto her head, Queen Caithara closed her eyes. And then she saw everything. Visions poured into her mind like a flood. She saw the predecessors, millions of them, billions of them. They looked like humans, exactly like humans. They built cities that touched the clouds, ships that crossed galaxies in heartbeats. They were not gods, they were explorers, scientists, artists, families, children playing in parks on worlds she did not recognize. She saw their golden age, a civilization so advanced that poverty did not exist, war did not exist, disease did not exist. They had conquered death itself. They were immortal, eternal, perfect. And then she saw the fall. Something came, something from outside the galaxy. She could not see what it was. The vision would not show her, but she felt its presence. Cold, ancient, hungry. It attacked. The predecessors fought back with weapons that could crack planets, but it was not enough. She saw their cities burn, their ships fall from the sky like rain. She saw billions die in seconds. She saw the survivors scatter across the galaxy, running, hiding, forgetting. She saw them land on primitive worlds and start over. No technology, no memory, just survival. She saw Earth, a beautiful blue planet. She saw humans, looking exactly like the predecessors, living in caves, hunting, gathering, having forgotten that their ancestors once ruled the stars. The vision ended. Queen Kythara opened her eyes. She was still standing in the workshop, but everything felt different. She felt different. Power coursed through her body like never before. She could feel every atom, every cell. She could hear the ship's engines 3 decks below. She could sense the heartbeats of her crew members through the walls. Her muscles felt like they were made of steel wrapped in lightning. She looked down at her hands. The gauntlets glowed with beautiful light. She made a fist. The air around her hand crackled with energy. "James," she said. Her voice sounded different, stronger. It echoed with harmonics that should not have been possible. James smiled from where he sat against the wall. "I gave you what the first queen should have had 3,000 years ago. I gave you the full power of the predecessors. You are no longer just a warrior, Queen Kythara." He coughed again. More blood. His time was running out. "But you are now what my people used to be. Before we fell, before we forgot," the queen walked toward him. Each step made the floor tremble slightly. She knelt beside him again. "You are dying." "Yes," James whispered. "Using that much predecessor knowledge, it burns through a human body. We are not ready yet. We forgot too much, lost too much." He looked at her with fading eyes. "But it was worth it, to see one person wear the armor as it was meant to be worn, to see the predecessors live again, even for a moment." "I will not let you die," the queen said firmly. She placed her glowing hand on his chest. "The armor shows me things, teaches me. I can feel its knowledge. If the predecessors could heal any wound, then so can I." Energy flowed from her hand into James's body. His eyes went wide with shock. The burns on his hands began to close. The blood stopped flowing from his mouth. Color returned to his face. "Impossible," he gasped. "You have only worn it for 2 minutes. It should take years to learn." "The armor chose me," the queen said, "and I choose to save you. You gave me this gift. Now I give you life." James's body convulsed once, twice. Then he gasped and sat up straight. His eyes were clear. His breathing was normal. The wounds were gone. "I am healed," he said in wonder.
Queen Kythara floated in the void of space. No ship, no oxygen tank, no protective suit, just her and the armor that glowed like a newborn star. Around her stretched the infinite darkness, filled with billions of distant suns. Above her loomed her flagship, the Eternal Dawn, its massive hull scarred from countless battles. And before her, spreading across the black canvas of space like a plague, floated 500 Hedgeroni warships. They were monsters of metal and fire. Each ship was 3 times the size of her flagship. Their hulls were covered with weapons, missile pods, plasma cannons, disintegrator beams. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. 500 of them. Through her helmet, Queen Kythara could hear Commander Rickhall's panicked voice. "My queen, your vital signs are impossible. You are breathing in vacuum. How are you—" "The armor provides," the queen said calmly. She could feel it. The armor was creating its own atmosphere around her, its own gravity field, its own power source. She was not floating in space. She was standing in it, master of it. The hegemony fleet had detected her. She could see their sensors sweeping over her position, targeting systems locking on. They were confused. Their instruments showed a single life form, alone, unprotected. It made no sense to them. Then their communication channel crackled. A voice filled with arrogance spoke. It was Admiral Threx, commander of the hegemony fleet. His species, the Crethans, were known for their cruelty. "Queen Kythara, how generous of you to come out and die alone. Your pathetic fleet of 30 ships cannot stop us. Surrender now and we will make your people's enslavement quick. Resist and we will burn every planet you love until nothing remains but ash and screaming." The queen did not respond with words. Instead, she raised her right hand. The gauntlet glowed brighter. Energy gathered around her fist like a miniature sun. She could feel the armor teaching her, showing her, ancient knowledge flowing through her mind like water. She remembered. Not her own memories, but the memories of the predecessors, memories of battles fought 50,000 years ago, battles against enemies far worse than the hegemony. She aimed at the nearest warship. It was 2 miles away, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. And she fired. The energy that left her hand was not like any weapon the galaxy had seen in millennia. It was pure, concentrated power, white and gold and blue all at once. It moved faster than light itself, crossing the distance in a microsecond. The warship exploded. Not slowly, not with fire and debris. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next moment there was only empty space and a spreading wave of particles. Silence filled the communication channels. Every ship, both Hegemony and Zephyrian, had seen it. One shot, one ship, gone. Admiral Threx's voice came back, but now it trembled. What are you?" Queen Kythara smiled inside her helmet. "I am the daughter of the stars. I am the heir to the predecessors. I am the weapon you should have feared." Her voice echoed across every communication channel in the system. "And I am mercy. Leave now and I will let you live. Stay and I will show you why the predecessors were gods." Admiral Threx laughed. It was a harsh, cruel sound, but underneath there was fear. "You destroyed one ship. You cannot fight all of us. Fire! All ships! Kill her!" The space around Queen Kythara erupted with light. 500 ships opened fire at once. Thousands of missiles streaked toward her. Plasma beams cut through space like burning spears. Disintegrator rays, invisible to the naked eye, converged on her position. It was enough firepower to destroy a moon. The queen did not move. She raised both hands. The armor responded instantly. A shield exploded outward from her body. It was not like the energy shields on ships. It was something older, something that bent reality itself. The missiles hit the shield and vanished into nothing. The plasma beams dissolved like water on hot metal. The disintegrator rays simply stopped existing when they touched the barrier. The hegemony kept firing. For 10 seconds, 20, 30, they poured everything they had into that one spot in space. And when the firing stopped, Queen Kythara was still there, untouched. The shield around her glowed brighter than before, as if it had absorbed the attacks and grown stronger. "My turn," she whispered. She moved. The armor propelled her forward faster than any ship could track. 1 second she was 2 miles away. The next second she was standing on the hull of a hegemony battlecruiser. She punched through its armor like it was paper. Her fist, glowing with ancient power, tore a hole straight through the ship's reactor core. The ship exploded from the inside. She was already gone, moving to the next target.
She flew between the massive warships like a ghost, like lightning, her hands carved through metal hulls that were designed to withstand nuclear strikes. Her energy blasts destroyed shield generators and weapon systems. Everywhere she touched, ships died. On the Eternal Dawn, the crew watched in stunned silence. The screens showed their queen moving through the hegemony fleet like a force of nature. No, like a god. "She has destroyed 23 ships in 4 minutes," Dr. Neltar whispered. "This is impossible. This violates every law of physics we know." James Chen stood on the bridge, watching. His face was pale. "No," he said quietly, "this is exactly what the predecessors could do. This is what humanity forgot." He looked at Commander Rickhall. "Do you understand now? Do you see what we were, what we lost?" Rickhall could only nod in silence. But then something changed. The center of the hegemony fleet began to glow. A massive ship, larger than all the others, pushed forward. It was black as night, covered with symbols that hurt to look at. This was the Void Hammer, Admiral Threx's flagship, the most powerful warship the hegemony had ever built. And on its prow, something opened, a weapon unlike any other, a dark sphere that seemed to swallow light itself. James's eyes went wide with horror. No, no, they did not. They could not have. "What is it?" Rickhall demanded. "A singularity cannon," James said, his voice shaking. "The predecessors banned them 50,000 years ago. They're weapons that create artificial black holes. They were outlawed because they were too dangerous. If the hegemony somehow recovered one from a predecessor ruin and got it working." He grabbed the communication console. "My queen, get away from there! They have a—" The Void Hammer fired. Space itself screamed. A black sphere appeared in front of Queen Kythara. It was only 3 feet wide, but its gravitational pull was immense. It began to suck everything toward it: metal debris, gas, light. The queen felt herself being pulled toward the growing black hole. She fought against it. The armor blazed with power. She pushed back against gravity itself, but it was too strong. "My queen," James shouted through the comm, "you cannot fight it directly. You must—" But Kythara was not listening. She was remembering. The armor was showing her something, a memory from the first queen who wore it, a battle fought 3,000 years ago, a technique that had been lost to time. She stopped fighting the black hole. Instead, she dove toward it. "She has gone mad!" Admiral Threx screamed. "The black hole will consume her!" But the queen did not stop. She flew straight into the event horizon, the point of no return. And as she crossed it, she did something impossible. She punched it. Her fist, glowing with the full power of the predecessor armor, struck the black hole at its center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the black hole began to shrink, to collapse, to die. The queen emerged from the other side. Her armor was glowing so bright it looked like a second sun had been born in space. She had not destroyed the black hole. She had absorbed it. The armor had taken its power and made it her own. She looked at the Void Hammer. Her voice came across all channels, and it echoed with power that made reality itself tremble. "You tried to use predecessor technology against me? You do not understand what you are playing with. Let me show you." She thrust her hand forward. The power of the absorbed black hole erupted from her palm, a beam of pure gravitational force. It hit the Void Hammer, and the massive flagship crumpled like paper. It folded in on itself, crushed by its own gravity, until it was a ball of twisted metal the size of a house. Then it exploded. The shockwave destroyed 50 more hegemony ships. The rest of the fleet panicked. Ships tried to flee. They activated their faster-than-light drives, but they were too slow. Queen Kythara moved through them like death itself. She was no longer fighting. She was teaching them what happened when you threatened the descendants of the predecessors, teaching them fear. In 15 minutes, it was over. 457 hegemony warships were destroyed or crippled beyond repair. Only 43 managed to escape into FTL. Queen Kythara floated alone in the debris field. Around her drifted the remains of the most powerful fleet the hegemony had ever assembled. Her